Well, Transport Minister Sindisiwe Chikunga says the country's aviation sector is among the best in the world despite its challenges. The minister gave an update on the state of the industry earlier today in Pretoria, where she was joined by the heads of various transport entities. Ziniko Mhlaba is our reporter tracking that story, and he joins us live from Pretoria. So what's the minister basing this on, Ziniko? The fact that South Africa is, or at least the aviation sector in South Africa is among the best in the world?
So that perspective of view, Michelle, is based on some of the auditing and assessment that has been done by international regulations in the aviation sector who have been in South Africa in 2023, who had a team of delegation that came to South Africa to look at the country's general state in terms of aviation. So they looked at the issue of whether local authorities have systems in place to ensure that airlines are regulated accordingly and in line with international standards. So mainly it was based on those global assessments that were done by international aviation entities or regulating entities, but also looking at the statistics of fatalities in South Africa, but also comparing South Africa's operational system when it comes to managing and regulating the airspace in South Africa compared to the African counterparts. So it's mainly based on that, Michelle. However, what was more interesting, remember that coming into this briefing, there were a lot of complaints by analysts in the aviation space who were talking about the state of infrastructure in our aviation space. And the minister did talk about the plans government has put in place to ensure that there's great development to respond to those frustrations by the analysts, but also airlines themselves who were complaining about the lack of adequate infrastructure. They were feeling that the current or existing infrastructure is outdated. So let's take a listen to the minister explaining that issue of development in infrastructure, especially when it comes to key airports in South Africa.
As per the 5-year permission recently granted by the regulating committee that I referred to, AXA has earmarked 21.7 billion rands for airport infrastructure development. This investment primarily targets refurbishment, efficiency improvements, and statutory compliance measures with the aim to enhance asset availability, airport safety, and passenger experience across our airports. This is the largest capital investment program by our high-performance globally awarded SOE, that is AXA, since preparation for World Cup 2010.
So that's Transport Minister Chikunga just giving us a sense of what is it that authorities in the transport sector on behalf of government, are doing to ensure that there is great development in the aviation sector, specifically looking at key airports in South Africa. I know that Cape Town International Airport is one of the airports which will be targeted in terms of that development. However, you asked earlier on, Michelle, about what is it that, the minister was basing the issue of South Africa being the best amongst the world. Well, another issue that the minister used to reference that statement or to support that statement was the issue of incidents that the minister says has been, on a declining mode in terms of reported incidents, especially fatalities. The minister is saying that as far as the countries, as far as incidents, South Africa is doing very well because we're looking at about 20% decreases, especially when it comes to the private or smaller, operating companies in South Africa. But also the minister said that when we look at the commercial flights, there's been non-fatal incidents in the past 40 years. Here's the minister again giving us a sense of how we're looking in terms of incidents in South Africa.
At the end of the previous 2022-2023 financial year, the number of accidents had decreased from 147 to 113 accidents, which translated into a 23% decrease from the 2021-2022 period. The fatal accidents decreased from 12 to 9 fatal accidents, translating into a 25% decrease, with the number of fatalities decreasing by 29.4%. As we head towards closing of this 2023-2024 financial year, we have recorded 97 accidents to date. While we are projecting these numbers to marginally be lower than the previous reporting period, the number of fatal accidents has increased to 13, which is 4 more than what we were in 2022-2023 financial year.
Well, certainly good to hear some good news from some of the sectors in the country, Ziniko, and the Minister also talking there about COVID-19 and obviously the massive impact the pandemic had on the aviation sector, and that it does look like we are over the worst of it. Ziniko Mhlaba, let me thank you for your time. Thanks for joining us, giving us that update.